Alright, so today we're back with a car that hasn't been on the channel for quite a while. So back in March of last year, we picked this up. It's a black 72 Nova. It had an LS thrown in there, but the swap wasn't completed. We decided to pull it out, use that motor for a different project, and then this thing has just been sitting. But today we decided that we are going to finally get it all together. I've done all the prep work, and we're gonna get it moving probably in one go. So the engine we pulled out originally was just a standard stock LM7, and the motor now going back in is also technically just your standard LM7. The only difference is it's got a BTR truck Norris NSR cam already installed. We ran it on the run stand, seems to run fine. We got this off of Facebook Marketplace or wherever. It was out of some crashed Taquache truck, the perfect source to get these engines. But we've dressed it up the way it is. We'll go over that in a little bit. As far as the trans, that was also Facebook Marketplace, but a different seller. So we've got a Camaro sourced 4L60. You can see here because it has the mounts for the torque arm. However, I can tell that it's never been ran, but it does have some aftermarket stuff. Supposedly it's built. It's got a 10.5-inch converter that I got all shimmed up and primed. It's got a deep pan. If I swing it over here, you can see we've got a second gear servo. So supposedly it's built with all that normal good stuff. It doesn't have a 284 input carrier because those are $1,000. But it's totally dry, so maybe it works. The motor we've tested, the trans we haven't tested, but it was a good deal. So I guess we'll figure out the hard way. And as far as everything on top, it's basically set up exactly how I like it. We've got a Gen 3 truck manifold, very good performing intake manifold, stainless steel, no return, fuel rails with 36-pound EV6 injectors converted to EV1, a set of Gen 4 coil packs. The headers, they're not hookers. See, we got Holly this, Holly that. But yeah, these headers are some Chinesium. They seem to be kind of okay. They hang really low in the car, but they do seem to actually fit. And then we've got a Camaro crank pulley that we threw on because we're going to be running this with Camaro accessories since I have them and I like those, but they're a lot more expensive than the truck stuff. So as far as the car goes, we've actually been doing a ton of mock-up off camera. That's because I want this install to be as smooth as possible. So we've been putting blocks in and out, getting everything measured. As far as the mounting, we've got Hooker Black Heart mounts. That is the only thing I'll ever touch. That's what's on the Firebird. That's what on every car that I've ever swapped. Pillow blocks, these are down here. These are already mounted in. And we've got the motor plates. Those will bolt on when we go to drop it in. And as far as the electronics, we've got a painless 60508 engine harness. That is the exact harness that I have in the Firebird, and I've put it in other cars. We've already ran it through. We've got it all tucked up in here. I'll go inside, show the PCM. That's all hooked up. That's already wired. That should all be good to go. Then we've got, so this doesn't have much of a chassis harness, kind of like how the Firebird didn't have one for the longest time. We've got our positive bus here. The wiring is already in the back for the battery. We've got some headlight stuff. We've got some fan stuff. That's all done. Stuff like the radiator, that's already been mocked up. We already have all the pieces. And it's extremely messy, but we've started to mount the computer. So that's a 0411. Technically, yes, it's a 0610. But yeah, 0411 red-blue computer. That's already mounted. That's already been powered on. We're going to clean up a little bit of this wiring, but as you can see, the interior needs quite a bit of work as well. We've also already ran the B&M Pro Stick style shifter, same one that's in the Firebird. We've got the starter and the ignition, that's right there. That's all done. It's also got a fully completed fuel system. So this has technically been on camera. This was the fuel system that we were, when we first tested the motor in the garage, we were having all those weird issues like a year ago. That was that fuel system. It has now been fully installed in this. It's got the filter regulator. That's all Tanks Incorporated stuff. Again, that is the only stuff that I'll touch. I don't want to deal with any other Mickey Mouse. I say get a full tank, all installed, all ran, all dialed in. And lastly, while the motor was out, we decided to install a Willwood aluminum master cylinder proportioning valve and a set of Dynalite Pro front brakes. So now the front end of this thing is considerably less sketchy. So now it's just time to start stripping it down and getting it in. So this is how we plan on lowering it in. I've got my lift plate here. I'm gonna try to put it at the back to try to make this thing somewhat be rearward so we can kind of slip it in that way. That seems to be the easiest way to get it in and out. So we got the thing up in the air. We're gonna do it from right here. That way we can get it to tilt to slip in. We've got our Hooker Black Heart mounts. We're gonna bolt those on for the last time. We got it all hanging up here. Let's try to send her home. they're not meant to be that fast. Fingers. Okay, touchdown. All right, so this thing is almost mostly in. Basically, we ran out of room with the front bumper with where it was all the way back here to get that angle. So it's further enough in. I moved the lift plate up further forward. We're gonna hook it here. We've got a jack underneath the back of the trans, and then we're gonna lift and then get it to slot in where the motor mounts go. The only thing that's a little bit annoying about these rear steer GM cars is that this header and the motor has to go in at the same time. So this puppy is here. We're gonna have to do some weird dance to where when we let the motor in, we have to also slide in the header and then have it all chill there. I don't think we actually have to install the header because when this header is on, it's also really hard to get those plugs in because I am intentionally leaving all the plugs out so we can prime this motor because it has never had oil in it since we swapped the pan. And also the transmission is totally dry. So I think we're in position. This might take a couple tries. There we go, stop. There we go. So you can see this is why I like those motor mounts so much. They just slot in like that, and then we'll have the locator bolts in there. This side's super easy. There's a ton of room, so starter, plugs, and a header, that's easy to do. We also have the trans dipstick. It's a low car one. It's really nice. They're expensive, but they're expensive for a reason. So that will drop in there so we can start to fill the trans. We're gonna pull a valve cover so when we start cranking the motor over, we can confirm that we get oil up there. And yeah, this is the annoying side where you can see, so this all has to go in one side because everything's trying to be right here. And then we're gonna leave it up so we can have the plugs out and then get plugs and the header bolted on all kind of at once, and just not looking forward to that. All right, so we've been working on it for a little bit. We were messing around with the trans. We got it all hooked up. We got the trans cross member in. The trans cross member is not from Holley. It's not a hooker one. So it's kind of a pain to get it in and off. I would definitely recommend getting an actual hooker one, not Chinese, but that's what we have. We had a slight crisis because the trans we used to mock this up had a longer shift rod for the shifter. We got it working, we think. Maybe it'll work, maybe not. The main thing now is that, so we've got about 5 quarts in the trans. The motor's still dry. We're gonna pull the valve covers off. I've wired in the starter. The rest of this isn't wired up, but we're gonna put oil in it, make sure we have enough trans fluid, spin it, and make sure everything's primed. All right, so valve covers are coming off. So I've got about 5 quarts in the motor. I've let it run down to the bottom. And then one thing I'm experimenting with, so I poured a little bit of oil down the oil pressure sender. I don't know if that maybe primes the system faster, but it also might just spray out as we crank. So go ahead and, go ahead and crank. We got oil on the stick, a lot of oil underneath the car, but oh well. So go ahead and start it. All right, so I decided that's enough priming. It never came out of the pushrod holes, but it should be fine. Go ahead and we're gonna put exhaust on. So that side's already on, the plugs are in. That side, we got the plugs in too. This side obviously drops in super easy. But yeah, these headers, they fit well. They just hang down really, really low. But yeah, so now once we get the exhaust on, we're gonna start doing the fun stuff and throw everything on top. So headers on, plugs are in, those are both done. Now it's time for the stuff that makes it look like a car again. So I'm gonna throw on the intake manifold. Now we're just gonna undo the bungee cord and start plugging everything in. I got the manifold on, got the throttle blade hooked up, fresh air loop that's going. Now it's just the harness itself. So this side is basically just injectors. And what I like so much about the painless 60508 is it comes with EV1 4th gen Camaro style injector plugs, which adapt very nicely to EV6 injectors. So you've got the EV1 on that side, EV6 on that side. You plug it in like that, and there's no stupid pigtails, and it plugs right in. So you really can't even tell it's adapted. And then this side has a little bit more run to it because it has all of the stuff to the intake. So let me get the injectors on. So on this side, we've got the idle air control motor, we've got the throttle position sensor, water temp sensors there, air intake temp, so we have not done that yet. This is the alternator charge wire, which we haven't plugged the alternator in. Obviously the coil pack bank, and then all the way over here is our MAF. So like I said, part of the whole, we're doing the mocking up. This is what we mocked up as far as an intake. It's kind of rough, but we've got the MAF chill in there, or filter chill in there. That's plugged in, that's gonna get much nicer. And then the O2s, those are also plugged in. NOx sensor, cam sensor, crank sensor, and map. Those are all right there. And I think that's just about every single plug. Just gotta throw on the coil packs, spark plug wires, and then I'll talk about the exhaust. Coil packs on, spark plugs are on, everything's nice and plugged in. As you can see, there's a lot going on here. So at some point, I'll do the same 23 circuit harnesses that are on both the Firebird and El Camino. It's a really, really long process to do that, but we'll do a whole chassis harness, and we'll do this all wrapped. We'll see how it looks. That's obviously kind of an eyesore. But now just to move on to the exhaust, you can see, so under here, that's how low the collectors are. So you can't really tell, but it's way lower than the frame rail. It's super, super low. So you can see we got one of them on there, but I'll go over the exhaust, and that's, I think, the last step. So in an effort to just get it running, not have to do a bunch of exhaust, we got these. These are what, like 30 bucks or something like that?
26 feet.
Yeah, $26. 3-inch glass packs, you can see straight through them. They're really, really loud. I've been using them on the run stand. I have a couple shorts with them. So they're not open headers, but they're a little bit not open headers. And then they also hang down really low, so they kind of go like that. They look kind of cool, but yeah, this is very temporary, but it'll be enough to make it run. So we fuel pump primed, we got power back to it. I've got the charger wire that's set over there, so it's isolated and not gonna short. And then that's all looks clear. Ignition on, ignition off. Just making sure we don't have any more leaks. Okay, so ignition on, crank. Shut off. All right, so that instant started, which I knew it would. And let's see. Don't see any leaks, anything dumping, anything crazy. All right, let me look closer. Everything looks good. I don't see any fires, no leaks, no crazy noise. We added a couple more quarts to the trans. Like I said, it was completely dry because I don't think this trans has ever had fluid or anything in it at all. So let's see how. Let's go ahead and start it again. So key on. The battery's pretty low. Ignition on. Start. Here, give us a throttle. Here, let it idle, let it idle. There you go, just let it idle, yeah. Awesome. So I think it's time now to make it actually move under its own power. So we got cooling system. Here's a F-body water pump, one of my extras. This is going, so like this is the one that's on the, going on the El Camino. That's all set up like that. Same thing, there's a spare. And then the radiator, so like I said, we did a lot of mocking up. We already got the hoses all dialed in. So we should be able to just throw this thing on, throw water in it, and be good to go. Water pump in. This thing was a major pain to get out because the prior owner that made it all fit in there did it kind of in an odd way, but we should be able to get it in easily. All right, so our cooling system is on. See, we got our 4th gen Camaro water pump, a lower hose that fits, an upper hose that fits. We decided to put the steam port in this hose rather than running it to a radiator because this plastic radiator is what came with the car. And it's also nice because I made it so that it's on the same side as the steam port itself. That way it doesn't have to cross over and worry about getting hit by the belt. As far as the alternator goes, so these actually can fit the fancy low mount alternator, like the one that's right there. It does fit on the Novas. However, and we do have another one, I think it's sitting right here. However, this block is not tapped for the hole, so we just didn't feel like doing that. And then I'm actually pulling the belt off the Firebird because I'm gonna be making some changes. So this is the exact same ICT billet bracket, put the alternator up nice and high. And then if it ever gets another motor that's aluminum, we'll put it back down low. So here I am now at the dirty Firebird. So you can see that's the same bracket we're about to use, same alternator style. And the reason why we're taking the belt is I got this guy. So finally have an ATI super dampener. So this thing, stock crank pulley, stock Camaro. I spin this thing to 6,700 RPM, and assuming I put that motor back in it, or not back in it for the first time, it'll spin to like 7,000. So I really do want to spin this belt a lot slower. And every time I go racing, they ask me if I have an SFI balancer, if I have an SFI flex blade and stuff. And I say no, and then they just let me go anyway. I don't know exactly what speed they want it, but best time as ever to just finally put that on. I might film it, might not. It's kind of boring working on this car. But yeah, so no better time to just steal the belt since I need to get a shorter belt anyway. So go ahead and I'll pull it off and take it. We went and rolled the car out. So we got, let's see there, that's guy there. This is on. We're gonna, check and tighten everything. Now that's out here, we can start putting water in the radiator and cooling system. And the last thing is the drive shaft. So the drive shaft, like I said, all the mocking up we did already measure it, already get it, test fit and everything. So this does fit. We just gotta climb underneath and get it in. You can see, like I said, yeah, that's how low the exhaust is. But yeah, so drive shaft in, and then we'll put water in it. Make sure the charging system works and run it, and then go from there. Filled it full of water, we get the drive shaft in, and we're gonna test both at once. So we're gonna do the, as it's running, it's gonna be building some heat. It's got a 160 thermostat in it, so it shouldn't take long. And then I've got some pieces of wood there and there to see if we have forward gears, and if we don't, we need to start troubleshooting that and then get fluid in it. So all right, so go ahead and ignition on, start. All right, yeah. So would you touching the throttle at all?
No, it also wasn't in drive.
Oh yeah, so put it in park. Keep it in park.
Now it's in park.
Yeah. So go ahead. Just keep it running.
Okay. I want like 650, it's good at.
Put it in drive. Working? Okay. Let it roll back. Let it roll back. Oh, okay. So basically, it's got a tune in it. I've only barely adjusted it. It's got a stock tune from a 4th gen Camaro from a 2000, I believe. I adjusted only because I was doing some testing earlier on other motors. The only thing I adjusted was cylinder air mass down to 5.3, and then I turned off all the emission stuff so there's no check engine light. The idle is still targeting like 500. So I'll go ahead and I'll crank that up so I'll probably put it to like 1,000 just so we can make it so we don't have to touch the throttle. Build heat, and then I guess we have trans. So once we pull it back in, get it level, we can then confirm transmission level. So I just disconnected HB tuners. I threw like 300 RPM across the board in the idle. Hopefully we can get it running long enough. We're gonna pull it back in the garage, do some more checks, make sure everything's good, because I want it level to check the levels. So go ahead and key on, start it. Yeah, you're gonna have to pedal it and then really play with it and learn it to get it to idle so without the AIC. Because what's happening is the AIC is trying to correct what you're doing, and it's just bouncing back and forth. Damn it.
Like I got to 1 and it just.
Yeah, it's because it's trying to bounce this. Just keep trying. Here, bring it in. Here, let me try. See if I can get to start without any pedal at all. All right, so I got all the water, or the air rather, out of the water. So it's cool, running a new cool, like 170-ish degrees. I topped off the trans fluid. I think that seems to be good. We've gotten quite a bit of stuff in it. I hear stuff making noise, whatever. Let's make sure this doesn't blow in my face. And then probably add some water. Are we leaking? Are we? We did get the water out of it, but then as soon as we shut it off and I opened this back up, it started dumping water behind the water pump. Couldn't really see why, so we ripped it off. We threw another one on, and it doesn't seem to be leaking yet, but this doesn't look like it's leaking. These are rebuildable. The car ones are, the truck ones press in. These ones have a bolt, so. They also have these weird, crappy orange gaskets that we got from the Taquache, so maybe that was a culprit, but let's go ahead and, I said I just got the air out of it, now it's got a bunch of air in it again, so go ahead and start it. Don't touch the pedal at all. All right, you're gonna have to touch the pedal. All right, so it's the next morning. Last night we did a little bit of dialing in. The car's pretty well sorted, and I think the last thing we have to do is just hop in it and go rip it around. First start of the day. We did reset the battery, so hopefully it should just start. Perfect. Okay, we're good. loud inside, but let's see if we got forward gears and can do a little lap. Second gear. Third gear. So this is a 10.5-inch converter, but we have no idea how loose it is, and it's too hard to tell as of now. Feels pretty good. So I think that about wraps it up. The burnout was kind of weak. I don't know, it was trying to shift into third and the tune is way off, so I'll deal with that later. Now it's just a matter of cleaning this thing up, making it a regular car, like fully regular car. So it's July right now. Power Tour West just got announced for October. So the goal is to have this ready, have this be safe, have this be on the track, have the Firebird go, have other cars, Monza hopefully to go. But yeah, so our work's cut out for us, getting everything dialed in, and the next time you see this, it should be way, way, way better.